for it to start. All right, colleagues, the recording is officially on. My name is Tsepo Mampuru. I'm a contracts manager here at Perco SA. I will help in terms of the facilitation of this session, together with my colleagues from the University of Pretoria, who will also introduce themselves shortly. Marlies, maybe I can hand over to you for quick introductions.
100%. Thank you, Sepu. Okay, so we are a big is relative, but we are a team consisting of 4 members that is jointly then attending this meeting on behalf of the university this morning. First of all, it's me, Marlies Creer. I'm a Senior Assistant Director in the Facilities Management Department. Then we've got our Deputy Director, that is Garfield Tennyson. So he is the Campus Services Deputy Director on our side. We've got Ilse Ickerman. She's actually sitting right next to me, so she's not listed on the attendance register, but she is present in the meeting, same with Garfield. Okay, so Ilse is our previous waste management expert or manager in that regard. So she will help us with all the technical questions that's related to that scope. And then we've got Nomini Mamashvlodi. She is our Senior Assistant Director in the portfolio of industrial hygiene, building and building cleaning services. So she will assist us with any technical questions on the on that side. Yeah, and then that's basically all of us, Tsepo. I don't know if you want more information or is that sufficient?
No, that's sufficient, Marlies, from an introduction perspective.
Perfect.
Thank you, colleagues. Then also just to run off the introductions, I'm also joined on my side by my colleagues, Molemoshe Ramokolo and Pozisa. They will also just assist in terms of facilitating this process and also the entire tender process. Colleagues, we're going to kickstart in terms of the actual session. What I am going to do, I'm going to be sharing some documents, obviously to quickly peruse. Just to note that we obviously cannot go through each page of the bid documents. Those who have purchased the bid document will realize that it's I think 6 sections up to section F. So it's quite detailed documents, obviously speaking to what we're trying to achieve from this tender process. Those who have not purchased the tender document, it is still available on our website, which I'll also touch on shortly. So just to start sharing, I'm going to first start sharing the invitation to tender. Just bear with me quickly. All right, so what I'm sharing is the invitation to tender, colleagues, which speaks about this process. It is for the provision of hazardous and sanitary waste removal and pest control services. You will see that it's actually divided into 4 sections. So it's actually 4 tenders in one. The reason obviously we did that is because there is a cost to the bid document. We avoided a situation where obviously if a bidder is bidding for all 4 sections, then they buy the bid 4 times. So we try to obviously assist in that regard. But of course, you will bid for the section that you are bidding for. You'll see when we look at the form of offer that you are able to tick in terms of what services that you're providing. As an example, if you're providing pest control services and none of the other 3 areas, then you'll just tick pest control services and you'll only submit just for the pest control services. So we're not, in short, looking for one service provider to provide all 4 sections. No, it's just that we've put them all into one bid. Colleagues, there is a tender number there, PU7612/007. Then just reading this section because it is important, just word for word. Prospective tenderers, applicants interested in supplying these services to the University of Pretoria, as specified in the set of tender documents, are invited to tender as follows. 1, review the attached introduction and tender conditions outlined in section A. Section A is the introduction and tender conditions. Complete the provided tender form and provide the required information by uploading it onto the PERCOSA website. The submission link is in the respective scope of work. That's section B, C, D, and E. Colleagues, it's an online submission, not a physical submission at UP. Online submission using the PERCOSA website. You will see that there is a link in each document. That link will take you to a landing page. When you arrive at that landing page, you'll see the 4 different sections in terms of the scope of services that you're trying to procure. You'll obviously click on the service that you're providing individually. So you'll first obviously click on pest control, submit all the required documents. If you're also submitting for the sanitary side of the tender, then you'll go back to that section and submit all the documents. So it's 4 different areas, but that link takes you to that landing page that you'll be able to submit. But critically, it's an online submission, not a physical submission, colleagues. No email, nothing. You have to use this link in order to submit the tender document. If you're not sure on how the link works, the office is available. Myself, Mole, Pozisa, they can assist you in terms of obviously guiding you through the process. We also do have our IT support. Critically around the closing time, they'll be available. I don't want to say around the clock, but usually they assist till late in case you do struggle. In terms of any technical aspects, but please do not wait for the last minute. If after the session you are ready, the submission page is already available. But again, you are able between now and the closing date to keep going back to your own individual submissions portal, where you can still, if maybe there's a document that you didn't submit, or maybe you want to replace a certain document, you're able to do that up until the closing date of the tender, which is the 28th of April at 23:59. And we intentionally made it till 23:59 because obviously midnight, the bandwidth is much better, the speed of the internet. So we're trying to assist in that regard. But again, I must put a disclaimer. We are in an era where obviously there's many technological disruptions, notably load shedding. So please make provision for those things because you don't know what could happen closer to the closing time. Hence, advise that you please submit as early as possible. The portal is there for you to submit at any time. Colleagues, moving on. So the different sections in terms of the scope of work. Section B is for hazardous waste removal services at University of Pretoria. Section C is also hazardous waste removal services. This is at the Kruger National Park campus. Is the Hans Hussein Camp, Orpan. So that's also hazardous waste. Section D is sanitary waste removal services, and Section E is pest control services. So that is the scope of work. Like I've said, it's 4 tenders in one, so don't think you need to, make provision for providing services for all 4 sections. No, you make provision for the services that you want to provide. Then you've also got the form of tender, which I'll show you shortly. Note, a tender may select to tender one on one, more or all of the listed scopes. Clearly indicate on the form of tender which section scopes are included in the submission. Point 3, refer to section F for the general conditions of contract applicable on appointment. So we're giving you the general conditions of contract for you to peruse. 1 is also for you to know what are the actual terms of conditions, and 2 obviously is to fast track that process at the end of this procurement cycle when we're ready to appoint and sign the general conditions of contract in SLA. Closing date for tender, 28 April 23:59 on the PERCOSA tender portal. Submission link provided in bid documents or in the respective bid documents, which we'll show you. We're currently in an online non-compulsory information session. Colleagues, it's a non-compulsory, meaning even bidders who didn't attend the session are able to submit proposals. Important that you note that. The venue obviously is via Teams. The date is the 13th of April, and the time is from 10 to 11. We also provided the link to join the session. Point 4, this just general conditions speaking about the duly completed and signed set of documents must be clearly endorsed with the above tender number. Submissions must be uploaded on the PERCOSA website before or on the due date an hour. No late tenders will be accepted, and the owner shall be on tender to ensure that all tender documents submitted online are received in time. The university will accept no responsibility or make any allowance for delivery delays, and no grace periods will be allowed. Colleagues, at 23:59, that link will not be able to be used, so it will discontinue. So if you attempt to use it after the closing date and time as specified in this bid document, you won't be able to access it. So again, I plead again to please start the submissions early enough to give yourself enough time to obviously upload everything. From a size perspective, our website can take as you know, we don't have those limitations. We run huge tenders through the portal, construction, you know, we have the building plans and all of those things. So we don't have an issue in that regard. But again, if you're struggling, the office will definitely assist. Only point number 6, only tenders completed on the original tender documents refer to section C of the applicable return of documents and submitted online will be considered. Where required documentation is not submitted or incomplete, the submission may be excluded from the evaluation process and not considered in the adjudication process. Colleagues, the bid documents, all documents really have been simplified to assist you as the service provider to be able to submit the proposals accordingly. We do understand it might not be the nicest, might not be the colorful way that you have, but please, we urge you to not make amendments to our bid document. Submit it as it is. I know guys have a tendency, obviously, of, you know, think putting the pricing table in their template and all those coloring and so forth. As much as it's appreciated, we do request that you please stick to what we have given you. Again, it's important. It's little things, colleagues, that can invalidate your bid submission. I've envisaged there will be a lot of work put into, so obviously putting together the proposal. You don't want to be disqualified over technical issues that really are things that you can avoid. So please stick to the bid documents that we've given you. Point 7, information provided during the bid clarification session is aimed at assisting bidders in compiling informed and meaningful bids. The university shall not be bound by any alleged representation, undertaking, or warranty not contained in the final contract concluded between the university and the successful tenderer. A tender evaluation committee adjudicates the submissions based on the predefined criteria and weightings as clearly defined in the tender documentation. And then inquiries pertaining to the technical specifications can be addressed to fm/finance@up.ac.za, copying tsepomampura@percocet.co.za. So colleagues, include us both, those email addresses, because we also need to consolidate all the questions that have been asked and all the answers given. So it's important that we share information equally. Hence why we're requesting that you please direct all these inquiries to these email addresses, and obviously then correspondence will flow through that. Correspondence, colleagues, post this session will only go to the bidders who have purchased the bid document. So if you've purchased the bid document, obviously the team will set up sort of a database, and all questions and answers given will be shared with those correspondents. So please ensure that whoever purchased the bid document, you know, obviously we have the email addresses captured. If it's another person, another department, please make sure that you obviously engage with the person that's purchased the bid document, because for us, that's our point of reference. And I know your big organizations, different people may be making payment versus different people actually submitting the proposals. We do push it on you as the service provider to ensure that you consolidate those correspondence internally. PERCO or UP can't be held responsible if, for example, you haven't gotten correspondence, but it's gotten to somebody else in your department. So please internally fix that type of communication. Colleagues, this is just speaking about that the tender document is purchasable at a non-refundable fee of 1150. It's an online purchase through, again, our PERCO website. I think it's seamless. And we've been using this process for many years. Those who've obviously worked with PERCO before. But again, if you struggle with this aspect, please contact the office and they will assist you in that regard. Submission of the tender will be via the PERCO's website. The submission link is in the respective scope. So you see, we said it several times that it's an online submission. Please don't make the mistake of trying to submit at UP or at the PERCO's office. It's an online submission. Colleagues, it is important that I go through this. Because this is the sort of invitation to tender, so that you know what's covered before we go through all the other aspects. If you have issues in terms of downloading the bid document, colleagues, please contact Ms. Mulumesha Ramakole at our office. There's an email address, there's a contact number. She'll assist you in terms of obviously accessing all the necessary documentation post you purchasing that bid. I'm going to move on now, colleague. Marley, sorry, your hand is up.
Yes, thank you. I just thank you for this introduction. I think it's valuable. I just want to add to make sure that the contractors are aware that we cannot open the tenders before that closing time and date. We found in previous situations where some of the contractors think that if they post their tenders too soon, that it is viewable by the evaluation team, and that we might share some of their information to the other tenderers. That is not the case. We cannot open the tenders before that closing time. So please be as quick as you can to submit it, so that we prevent any last minute emergencies.
Thank you, Marlies. It's an important point that you raise. Even I think from our side, colleagues, we from a POCO perspective, we also can't access that submission portal up until the closing date and time. So only you as the bidder can access your own individual submission page. So it is secure, and all of those things from a security perspective. Colleagues, then moving on to the form of offer quickly. So the form of offer, again, I won't read it word for word. This obviously speaks about the terms and conditions, in terms of your actual submission, speaking about withdrawal of the tender, the laws of the country, and all of those things. So please read it, just to understand. Nothing tricky, nothing out of the ordinary that you'd see in any bid document. So again, I'm just not skipping it because it's less important. I'm just highlighting the fact that it is a document that needs to be submitted. The key aspect, colleagues, is right at the bottom on point 3.13, where you really need to specify which section that you are bidding for. Okay, I emphasize that we've tried to make it as easy as possible, both from a documentation perspective and also from a submission perspective. You'll see each section is viewed in isolation. Again, I reiterate that it's 4 tenders in one. So colleagues, that's the form of offer. Again, I won't go too much into that, but again, should you read it post this briefing session and you have questions around that, we're obviously able to give the necessary clarification in that regard. Colleagues, then what I'm going to do now, Marisa, I think because again, we're dealing with many documents, do you want to just give an overview of the different sections?
Yes, I can do so.
Okay.
But I think, we're not going to go page by page through each and every scope document. If you can maybe just show one of them, maybe the first hazardous waste one, so that they just get a feel for the document.
Okay, no problem. I'm going to share it now.
Okay, so the 4 tenders, there's 3 main categories. So the first 2 is actually seen as one category, the hazardous waste one. So we've got the first, I think, section B. Section B is then for the hazardous waste collection, removal and disposal of all the hazardous waste at the University of Pretoria's 6 campuses. Now, you'll see there in the document that we've specifically listed the 6 main generation points or campuses, as we call them. But then the section C, sorry, for also for hazardous waste, but that is then ring fenced for only the Kruger National Park scope. So there's two separate sections. The one is for the waste generated at the university and all the campuses, and then the one is for the Kruger National Park one. So the specifications and the returnable documents and all that stays the same for these 2 sections. It's just the areas that differs. So as Tepo is then quickly running through this document, maybe just scroll down a little bit, go to the returnable documents. So what we've done in the document, we've given you all the specification and requirements needed or related to this specific section. And then right at the end, we've, there you go. Oh no, sorry. We've listed all the returnable documents. So first of all, we've got all our mandatory documentation. This is a list of documentation that you that is compulsory to submit. Please don't leave out one or give us a certificate that is not valid. Your bid will unfortunately then be disqualified, and you will not go through to the next phase of the scoring part of the evaluation process. So go through in detail. There's nothing funny or too complicated. I'm sure everybody working in this industry are aware or well known with all these requirements, but if there's any questions, please let us know. And then in this, the following, okay, so sorry, just to take a step back, maybe just some clarity on the evaluation process. I know Tsebu will also touch on that a bit more, but it's broken down into basically three stages. So first of all, we look at the mandatory documentation, make sure that everything is valid, and then submit it. Then once you've gone through this hurdle analysis, we start looking at the function analysis, and there you will also see a breakdown and the weights of the items listed. For instance, this first item, there's a total weight of 15 points allocated to this item, and how we are going to score the specific item. You'll see if you give us 3 references, you score 15 out of 15 points. 2 references, you'll score 10 points, and 1 or less, you won't score any points in this section. And then we add up all the points out as a total out of 100. You must score 80 or above in this section, in this stage of the process to be able to go to the final one, where we start looking at the pricing, and then also take into consideration the BE recognition level. But it's all very, very specifically and clearly stated in the documentation. I trust that it's clear enough for everybody to understand.
Sorry, Marlies, just to point that it's a minimum of 70 points.
Oh, sorry. 70 points. Yes, you're correct. It's not 80
Correct.
points. Yeah, 70 points. 70 out of 100. 70%. Okay. No. Please. Okay, if you can go down a bit, then we quickly look at the schedule of rates. That is just how we calculate the score out of that 90-10 principle at the BE and the price scoring, but that's also clear. And then we come to the schedule of rates, where we higher up in the documentation, all the specification and requirements are listed there. And then here we want a unit price per item as it's listed here.
Sorry,
so there's no quantities.
Sorry, Marlies, I'm just trying to get this. So somebody was speaking, colleagues?
Yes, I was saying we cannot see the slide.
Oh, goodness.
Colleagues,
I can see
you
it.
guys can...
And we haven't seen it since you started explaining.
Sorry if I can. No.
I can see it.
Thank
yeah,
you.
I have you. It may be on your side.
On my side. Okay, wait, let me.
I also can see it.
Yeah, no, I view it's on your side. I'm not sure. All right, Marlies, continue, please.
Okay, so just to take note, we didn't add too much quantities here. We're looking at the unit prices in isolation. Higher up in the document, we did refer to typical quantities that you can expect to base your unit prices on, but it's not a formal bill of quantities, it's just a schedule of rates. Okay, so that's the first section. So the hazardous waste, the first and the second one. Then we come to the next section, that is section D, the sanitary health waste scope, where we also then, I don't know, do you want to open that one, Tsebu, as well, please? But in principle, it's basically the collection, removal, and then disposal of that waste. Also, as per the listed campuses and collection points, we try to put a lot of detail into where we actually have our collection points, but we've also just put in a note that some of you never know, the scope might be altered a little bit by saying there's a new building on one of the campuses and that must also be serviced, so we add that to the scope, or for whatever reason the scope might be decreased, but for now work on the quantities as indicated in the document. Yeah, I think maybe just go down a little bit to where we've, yeah, that one. So for each campus, we try to list the buildings and then the number of units that will be serviced. You'll also see on the Hatfield, well, on most of the campuses, there's academic buildings, and that is listed in the first table. And then we talk of the residences, and that's listed in a second table per campus, you can call it. So on the Hatfield campus, we've got all our academic buildings listed, and then we refer to the ladies' residences that's also in the Hatfield area. In the Hillcrest environment, or on the Hillcrest campus, there's three main areas. The first one being the innovation at UP area, the sports campus, and then the men's residences. On the Prince campus, the Groenkloof campus, and the Onderstepoort campuses, there's also academic buildings, and then a separate list of residences. And right at the end, the Mamelodi campus, which is only academic buildings and related, no residences at that campus to be highlighted. So it's quite a list, and there's a few totals to consider, but also right at the end, we only got a list or a schedule of rates, giving us a rate per item as specified. So it's not a bill of quantities where we compare the rate directly to a quantity. It's just a unit rate that we will apply to all the quantities applicable there. Same as the previous section, we've got our compulsory documentation. It differs a bit from the previous one, but once again, nothing strange or out of the ordinary. It should be known to the people in that industry what we want there. Function analysis, same story, different breakdown though. Also a minimum of 70 out of 100 to go or to proceed to the next phase. And then right at the bottom, we've got our schedule of rates. Like I've mentioned, there's a unit price per kilogram that we want from you guys there. And then just a summary of all the quantities listed above. And then the final section speaks to the pest control. That is more or less the same layout that we try to keep consistent throughout the four scopes. It is, so it's the pest control services for all the listed areas. Yeah, maybe just stop there. So there's 9 main areas listed there. Academic buildings on various campuses, Hatfield campus and ladies' residences, Prince of Onderstepoort, Groenkloof and Mamelodi campuses, men's residences, informal housing, and then all the kitchens and dining halls on all the different, in all the different areas. So there we just specify the pests and diseases covered in this tender. So there's a bit of technical specifications and requirements listed, but if you go down a bit, there's there you go. So it's once again the area schedules and the frequencies that we require it to be serviced. So we try to list all the applicable buildings on our campuses, the academic buildings specifically then, where we have specific needs, where we say this is a twice per year or twice per annum service required for that specific building. But then obviously the whole scope is then structured in a way that we've got reoccurring or on a schedule frequency versus then ad hoc request, where if we see that there's another need or a specific need at a required building, that is also priced separately. So just note that there's a difference between the how do I say the regular frequency versus the ad hoc ones. Yeah. And then right at the bottom, we look at the returnables again. And there you go. Same story as previously. There should be no funny request or nothing non-standard. But yeah, please let us know if anything is unclear there. And then we've got our schedule of rates again at the bottom. There you go. So that's the difference that I pointed out. Just go up a little bit. Thank you. So the pest control services at fixed intervals at the academic building and then the residences. And then you've got your ad hoc basis, the request that will come in on an ad hoc basis for all the different pests listed there. And that is it. I hope it is clear enough for everybody to understand and to give us meaningful bids.
Thank you, Marlies. Definitely
Perfect.
informative. Colleagues, just to add, especially on the evaluation side of it, colleagues, it's very important that you stick to how you're going to evaluate the tender. Submit the document that you want. I know people fall into various traps. One, obviously thinking, they submit maybe a document that's speaking about an intention to have a certain document ready by a certain time. No, we want you to have the actual document. So please importantly stick to the documentation that you want, especially from the returnable side. Equally so on the functionality, please read and understand exactly what you're looking for. Submit the actual documents. Because I think for me, I always say in tender processes, we try to be as transparent as possible. I think from all sides, we're not in the business of trying to eliminate bids at the beginning of the process or for any reason. We'd actually, the more bids that we receive that are competitive, the better it is for UP to get, the best or most preferred service provider. So please take your time to understand all these things. If there's any questions, please ask us. We're able to clarify. Also want to emphasize, I'll take your hand now, Maurice. Also want to emphasize, colleagues, don't fall into the trap of thinking, because obviously we deal with many service providers. We may know you, we may have dealt with you either at UP or other areas, but this is a process on its own. Okay, we're viewing it in isolation. It's not based on how we know you before. It's based on what you submit in this process. So please do not take it for granted, and submit and take it as serious as possible. Maurice, your hand is up.
Yes, thank you. Tsepo, I also want to just add to that by saying that each section will then be grouped together and evaluated as a set. So please don't just submit your BEE certificate for the one and think that it's been submitted now and we will accept or take it through to all of the sections. Use every section's uploading link and treat it as a tender by its own. Unfortunately, there will be some duplication of some of the documentation, but that makes the evaluation process just a bit easier for us, please.
Thank you, Maurice, and 100% supported. Colleagues, treat each area in isolation, submit the documents required. If there's duplication, there's duplication. Just submit accordingly. The last section, colleagues, is section F. I did mention that there is a general conditions contract that you've included in your pack. when you purchase the bid document. So just make sure you have all of that as well. So all these documents that we've been sharing are part of the pack that you must have. So ensure that I'm sure the invitation to tender, you should have that document because you are in this briefing session. The form of offer, download that when you buy it. Section A, Section B, Section C, Section D, Section F. Section A is what I skipped at the beginning, but again, it's just speaking about things that we have already touched on. Really, it's an introduction and all of those things. So just for completeness, so that you see which document I'm speaking about, it's Section A that I'm sharing here on screen. It's got your terms and conditions. So it speaks about the campuses over and above what Marilisa shared. It speaks about the objective of the tender, obviously to appoint an experienced service provider at the areas indicated. Again, speaking about all the unquestionable track record and experience and so forth. Again, emphasizing that this is a non-compulsory briefing session. So anybody who also didn't attend will still be eligible to submit. Guides in terms of completion of the tender document, pricing, pre-qualification of service providers, and also guidelines in terms of if you're coming in as a partnership, what are the guidelines, consortiums and joint ventures. All of these things are critical holding company, declaration of interest. So again, just read this document. Key 8.14, validity of tender. So your submission must be valid for 90 days from the dates of closing date and time. And then clause around acceptance of tender, no rights or claim, non-disclosure, accuracy of information, competition, reservation of rights, and then a general section. So again, things that we've been covering in the session, but here it goes also into further detail. So it's invitation to tender, form of offer, section A to F. That should form part of your pack when you're buying the tender document. Colleagues, it's 10:42. What I'm going to do now is open the floor for questions. And obviously, we'll give answers where, obviously we need to give answers. I'll ask us to just follow a process of raising your hand if you've got a question. Then we'll recognize you, and then from there, obviously, we'll give the answers accordingly. So yes, the question and answer session is officially opened. Cynthia?
Good morning. Just for clarity purposes, so will the university supply all the bins on the sanitary waste removal RFP, and the service providers will only be required to collect and service the bins? I didn't quite pick it up during the discussions.
Yeah, Marlies?
Morning, Cynthia. My name's Ilse. The bins will not be provided. There are some restrooms that do have bins currently, but the service provider will have to do an audit, go around to all the buildings and ensure that all the spots do have bins available.
Okay, but for the sake of pricing this project, do we price just on the collection, or do we also price on provision of the sanitary bin?
I think to play safe, you will have to price on the placing of the bins as well. You will have to, if you come to us and say there's a shortage of 50 bins, you will have to indicate which spots are shorting the bins, and you will then have to give a price for a new bin.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
No, I'm still a bit lost, because on the pricing per unit, on page 28 on the sanitary waste RFP, the costing there is price for sanitary healthcare risk, and point A there says that please note an all-inclusive rate per kilogram should allow for sanitary waste collection, removal, including consumables, which are the red bags. transportation and disposal, there's no mention of the rental or the supply of the sanitary bins.
You're correct, Cynthia. You're correct, Cynthia. Sorry, that is
Yeah.
maybe oversight on our side. What I suggest then, that rate should only be for servicing it and not for the supply of the bins.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, Cynthia, if you can lower your hand if you're fine. Then well, it says pest invasion. Sorry if I don't have a name. Your hand is up.
Yes,
Pest
hello.
invasion control. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. I just want to find out if you go to the pest control site, the area, schedule, and frequency. Obviously, if you go to all the pricing on the tender, they show all the obviously the academic buildings, and then from there they go down to the hostels and the residences. But there's no indication on the right-hand side where we need to fill in the price. So my question is, if you go back to section E44 schedule of rates, we just want to find out, do we need to fill in all the pricing on that one page, or do we need to allocate a price for each hostel and for each individual premises on its own?
Thank you, Tsepo, for opening that page for us. If you scroll down to page 26 of 27, you will see that there's a schedule of rates. Now, this is where you actually fill in the rate, the rate per unit. So we're only looking for a unit rate. Like I previously mentioned, it's not a fixed bill of quantities where we compare the rate to a quantity. The list of quantities above is just to give you an indication of the vast volume of it, to relate your unit price accordingly. I hope that answers your question. So you only complete the schedule of rates right at the bottom.
Okay, 100%. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Lower your hand. Any more questions, colleagues? Going once. Going twice. Colleagues, through you, I will then proceed to close the question and answer session for this briefing, because I'm not seeing any more hands.
This is actually a big compliment to us that there's only 2 questions, meaning that our documents are complete and no, this
Correct, please.
okay.
No, I must say very well structured.
No, okay.
Colleagues, I think ideally, Marilise, will probably still have more questions that will come even after this session. Okay, pest invasion, let me take your question before I close.
Sorry, yes, just the last question. I just want to find out, I think you was just trying to explain it. If we still have some questions while we are going through the tender, we just want to find out if we can just send it on an email, or can we call someone? How is the situation working, or what do we need to do to ask if we have still some questions?
Noted. You'll see in the invitation to tender document on page 2 of 3 that there is an email address there, fm/finance@gp.ac.za, copying tepo.mampura@pocasa.co.za. So everything must, please, colleagues, be in writing during especially the course of the process. Please don't attempt to call UP or ourselves for any tender related issues. But of course, documentation, access, clarity in terms of submission. If obviously you don't get a favorable response by email, you are welcome to call our office, and the ladies will be able to guide you. The ladies, Morley and Posis on our side.
Thank you.
Okay. So
Thank
please,
you.
colleagues, again, I reiterate, please may everything just please be in writing.
Thank you.
Then, colleagues, yes. Look, I think also because obviously we can't be answering questions on the 27th of April, colleagues, in all fairness. So please, if you haven't purchased the document, purchase it so that you can ask those questions in time. I will put a tentative date, well, in fact, a date where colleagues, at least I can have to close off these questions and answers at some point. So can I put the 21st of April, colleagues, as a close off for when you can ask questions? It's 4 o'clock, 21st of April. If you can please get us all your questions at that point, so that it gives us and the UP team enough time to give you responses so that you're able to submit by the 28th. Again, it's just those.
Yeah.
That's fine, Marlies. Yeah. Yeah, colleagues, I mean, the 27th is also a holiday, so it's very difficult, especially if we give you answers late. It's helping you to make sure we give you the right answers. So 21st of April, 2022 at 4. Anything else, Marlies, the team from your side before I proceed to close?
No, I think that's quite a mouthful. Thank you for your assistance with this. Yeah, we look forward to seeing your bids.
Colleagues, thank you. And from my side also is to say, again, we really want to see all the bids because we want a competitive process. I want to wish you all the best of luck. And again, we do hope to receive each and every one of your bid. Thank you for your time, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the day, and good luck once again. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you.
Thank you.